is where the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandopi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Pileski goes, dives onto the right side. Very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys. Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Pileski. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Well, now it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around Mills at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Vito Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. The beauty as his right side will cook the grass. A 180, no, a 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernald. Gernald will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
Tradition runs strong in the Lotus 79 community. Between the 80s liveries and a passion for older tracks and layouts that modern machinery doesn't run, you can tell the love for all things vintage permeates this series' soul. Fittingly, the final race of the season takes place at a Formula One track that has decided many championships over the years. That's right, Suzuka plays host today as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Stefan Schlacher. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Steph, Senna and Prost, Mansell and PK, Schumacher and Hakkinen. Shall we add Wood and Freesia to the list of rivals deciding their fate at this place?
The latter pair twice in the more recent history, by the way. 1998 and 2000 specifically, both times won by the Flying Fiend Mika Häkkinen. And Joe, I honestly can't think of a better venue to decide a championship than Suzuka. The Austrian Gernot Friedrich versus the Brit Matt Wood. The biggest say in this battle will have the track though. Originally built as a Honda test track for their Formula One efforts in 1962, it is now one of the best known addresses for racing in Japan. 3.61 miles or 5.81 kilometers in length, these 17 turns are nothing for the faint-hearted. Speed and precision is the key to success here, especially through turn 1, up the SS into Spoon, or through the infamous 130R. What better way to start off a championship decider than a great lap guide by Joe Peak? So that is exactly the thing we're going to do as we now send you trackside with our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Juha Norlampi in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Suzuka. Coming down to turns 1 and 2, it takes some bravery attempting any kind of pass with the curved braking. It kind of acts as one long arc, but turn 2 is more the hairpin part of the bend and requires a late apex. Crossing over, you're going to set up for the S's, which is an extremely line-dependent portion of the track. Ideally, you want to set the car up for each following corner, rather than focusing on tracking out for each exit. Keeping your rhythm will be critical. It'll be mostly single file through here unless someone makes a huge mistake, but it all culminates in the launch in a Dunlop. Through this long sweeper, you'll be flat out and just drifting it off to the left to make sure you hug the inside on the exit. Then, brake hard for Degner 1 and try not to get into the AstroTurf so that you can set up for Degner 2. Use the banking here as best you can to carry your speed, then get ready for the hairpin. This is a good overtaking spot, but the kink on entry means sometimes you can't tell if someone will defend until it's too late, so keep your head up. Square off the exit and get to the power as soon as you can without creating wheel spin. You're not going to be lifting again until you get to Spoon. You might sometimes see some passes get set up along here, but the entry to Spoon is so quick it makes it kind of hairy to execute. Besides, once you come off the second sharper apex, it's really much smarter to focus on the launch from here. That's because it takes you onto the uphill climb along the backstretch. You're going to see a lot of slipstreaming, which will create some nervous two-wide scenarios into 130R. Thankfully, it's easily flat out in the Lotus, but you could still see problems come out of it. Then comes your last good chance for a pass, the Casio Triangle. Hard braking down into here from one of the fastest parts of the track offers prime real estate for overtakes. If you stay side by side through the chicane though, it'll be easy to trip over one another. Be easy on the power exiting the corner to keep from spinning the car, and hopefully, if you kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Suzuka.
You see a lap around Suzuka, but it is a little bit cloudier here on race day. Now, it's going to be a little bit cloudy as well for the Drivers' Championship, at least for Matt Wood, because unfortunately, the points needed, as we take a look at that, means that it's unlikely he'll be able to outscore Gernot Frische today. The reason for that is you can see that there are 168 drop points for Gernot currently. And with Matt Wood about 42 points behind, essentially, since regardless Gernot is going to get those 168 points, he's got to have 200 plus points to try and overtake him in the championship. And with the single split we've got today, we're not sure that he's going to be able to get that even with a win. We'll try to keep on top of that as the race finishes. Let's look at the team's championship, though. And Steph, how does that sit?
Well, Joe, it is pretty much same old there. Equipe Renault Elf right now in first place, 266 points to the names of Gernot Frische and Keith Herner. But Abidat Williams Racing only 7 points behind in second place. So Steve Bycroft, even though not in the championship fight for the drivers, he still is in the fight there for that team championship. Him and Kendrick Taylor will most definitely look to dethrone Renault there. Scuderia Ferrari in third place, 60 points already behind your leaders. And then we have for fourth place also still a battle between Equipe Ligia Chitan, 83 points behind, and Marlboro Team McLaren, 89 points behind. And as you can see on that graphic, they switched positions last round. So the fight most definitely still on there.
And unfortunately, I do not see Keith Herner here today. So it is going to be up to our championship leader to try and carry the flag for his team. Now, today's race itself, as we mentioned, is the final round of the season. There you can see the explanation for the drop weeks. 4 of the rounds that they race this season are dropped from their score, their worst rounds, obviously. With the team, it is only 2. Now, today's race is 23 laps, which means that there is no expected stop for fuel or tires during the course of this race. They have an incident cap as well at 17. Going to be a little bit tough to do that around here, although there are places that you can rack those up. And the points are decided by the official points, which are decided by the SOF, the average I rating of all the drivers out there. Qualifying is happening at the moment, and Gernot Frische is, Johan Orlampi is our provisional pole sitter with Steve Bycroft behind him. In fact, where is Frische in the qualifying?
Right now, he is out of the Casio Triangle show, coming over the line now. Let's see what he can do. A 46.864. That is first place. What a surprise.
So he hadn't set a lap time yet. I was looking all around for him and couldn't see him in the sheets, but it is very close. 29 thousandths of a second between himself and Orlampi. Juha is on his second lap right now as we watch Trangarade come across the line as well. His first lap only good enough for 12th. A bit surprisingly low for Ove. We're used to seeing him up into the top 10 at the very least. Terry Cordovara as well racing today. I was told by one of the Finns that they might have a little bit of a Finnish invasion as we now ride on board with Hoosier Steve Bycroft. He was in the mix for the championship for a while, but not today anymore. So we might be reading a lot of Finnish names here today as Bycroft comes through the Casio Triangle. He's already got a first lap down at a 1:47.0, good enough for third place inside of the second row. He improves, but barely, and that is going to keep him in third for now.
Johan Orlampi over the line, a 46.833, putting himself a 300th in front of Gernot Frische, who is still making his way up to the 130R. Right now, though, we have the top 4 drivers covered by just 0.2 of a second.
It is tight today Friscia in his Renault, now looking to try and see if he can take that top spot back. He's through the triangle. He needs to improve by 0.03 of a second to take this away. Very small margins, and he doesn't have it. Just a hair slower on that second lap. What about our other championship hopeful, Matt Wood? It looks like he's completed both laps, so 5th is the best he's going to see today, unfortunately for him. Train grade is well across the line. He improves, but it only bumps him back from 13th to where he was before into 12th. Train grade seeming to struggle a little bit today. Looking to see who else we have still running in the last 30 seconds. Molitor just set his first in what will be his only lap, good enough for 21st. So looks like that is going to be it for everybody able to set a time. Is Fabricante going to be able to get there? He's close. Ooh, well, that's not going to be a good lap anyways. And actually, he's on his. He just finished his second lap last time through, so he is in fact done, and the time is down anyway. So let's go through our starting grid for today. Nora Lompe manages to come back and put it on pole over Friscia to try and deny him a win, with Steve Bycroft starting in 3rd. Tommy Unhola will be P4. The inside of row 3, our other championship rival, Matt Wood, there in 5th. Adam Frazier starts P6. Juanmi Costa in 7th. Petteri Cordovara is in 8th at the drop of the green. Matti Sippola starts in 9th, with Mikko Nurmi in 10th.
11th place on the grid goes to Rob Olenek, putting his number 8 there. Right behind him, the number 11 of Ovid Trengerade, surely wanting to make a little bit of inroads up to the top 5. Kendrick Taylor, same thing for him, 13th on the grid. Barry West completing row 7 here today. Tony Tiolis, 15th. He will line up alongside Robert Simpkins, Judith Wikström in 17th, John Fabricante in 18th, Steve Sauls, he takes 19th on the grid, and 20th rounded out by Ludovic Barriere.
Brian Molitor will be 21st, with Florian Nidell in 22nd. They're the last of the drivers to get a lap in. Marco Kila in 23rd, and John Stevens starting 24th today. Simon Van Duyn in 25th, and Johnny Bell wraps out our 26-car field here today as everybody makes their way to the grid, waiting for the last 3, as this will be the last race of the season, rather. As we said, very, very fitting for it to take place here at Suzuka, which has hosted the final round of the season for a number of years in Formula One. Not so much anymore, though it is towards the end in most recent seasons. As the engines start to rev, the lights come up, green flag is out. Nora Lompe, not the best start off the line. That Renault is already up his inside, and they almost come together. He weaves back to give him space. Gernot Friscia up to the lead before they even get to turn 1. Rest of the field now piles into there. And it's looked mostly clean except for a spin towards the back. It looks like that car saved it. Everybody through.
Yeah, but it's really, really close in that back. Top 2 there. Oh, that's a touch. Who is that? Matt Wood.
Oh no, this is a bit of a clumsy start up at the front. So as drivers work their way through the Dunlop curve, Matt Wood has taken a tow. We'll get to the replay in a little bit, but this gives Gernot Friscia a decent gap back to now second place Steve Bycroft, a second and a half. They're not even halfway through the lap. Into the hairpin. Things can get a little bit clogged up here as well, but this looks a lot more orderly than what we saw through the S's. Looks like Johnny Bell had a problem at the back as well, and that happened in Degner 1 and 2. Otherwise, it is relatively clean now, but coming up the back stretch, Friscia being caught slightly by Bycroft in that second half of the lap. 2/10 chopped away. Third place is now Tommy Unhola. And then Juha Norlampi has fallen off the podium into 4th. Down into the Casio triangle.
Oh, a bit wide there from Noralampi. That gives maybe the opportunity to Adam Fraser down into turn 1.
See what Frazier can do. He's awful close to the back of that orange machine. And look at Noralampi immediately weave down to the inside to try to cover him off. Frazier going to have to go the long way around. He backs out of it, though. Knows it's a long ways to go to the checkers. He'll have more opportunities. Let's look at what exactly happened with Wood.
Yeah, interesting, awkward start is what I would describe it, actually. Now, there's a little bit of a bog down up in front by Johan Orlampi, which causes a 2x2, and Unhola loses the car a little bit right here behind him, and yeah, just locking wheels with Matt Wood, and he goes around into the barriers.
You know, it looks to me like Unhola was going to go around to the right or the left side of Noralampi and just didn't realize that Matt had already put his car there and made it 3 wide and ran into him.
Yeah, it does seem so. It's an awkward situation for sure, and yeah, sadly it has quite some impact on our championship for the drivers.
Yep, this pretty much means that at this point it is Gernot Frische, your new champion. Would highly unlikely to be able to overtake him in points today. But look at this battle for the lead that we've got. Frische is being challenged by Steve Bycroft. The Hoosier has come to the fore this season. He's taken wins, and at times he's outpaced the Austrian.
Yeah, and remember, that is a battle for a championship, because Bycroft still has a chance to overtake Gernot Frische in the Teams Championship, where it's much more about the team effort than just one driver, because not only, but they do divide the points scored by 10, making the championship even tighter than it would normally be.
And Juan Costa seems to have dropped a lot of positions. It looks like out of the Casio triangle and coming onto the front stretch. He brushed the wall. It was ever so light. We'll see it here. He goes a little bit wide here, Steph, and he's trying so hard to save it. He can see it coming for a long time.
Yeah, that really is a common mistake. Not so much in high downforce cars like the Lotus 79, but you can do that. The road is dropping away not only downwards but also to the side, and if you catch that grass ever so slightly, you are bound to hit that wall, like Juan Costa perfectly demonstrated there. But as it seems like he did not really get any damage from that, apart from a bent front wing, so he's still racing in 7th place, about 7.5 seconds behind your leader, Gernot Frische.
We've been watching this battle for 9th position. That's Rob Olenek and Juan Costa as we come back to the lead now, as it looks like it's within about half a second. Bycroft with a bad exit out of the final chicane onto the front stretch one more time, and it continues to stretch upwards. He's nearly a second back now. Frische responding to the pressure. We've had some intense battling going on for 12th, which it looks like is going to heat up even more right now. This is Teolis and Keela. Keela's to the inside as they come down the front stretch, but Teolis is a little bit braver on the brakes as they swing it into 1 and 2. So Keela's not going to be able to take that one away for now.
Now, this happened already at the start of lap 2, but out of turn 1, Ovid Triangulate and Barry West had a coming together, resulting in the retirement of Ovid Triangulate. So really, once again, a race to forget for the Norwegian.
Terribly unfortunate as we watch Rob Olenek once again still fighting with Juan Costa, but now also bringing Petteri Kodavara into the mix. One of our invading Finns racing in 8th right now, being caught relatively quickly by the New Englander. In fact, he's got it down to half a second as they swing it up towards Spoon. He gets a good launch onto the backstretch, Steph. This could be a good opportunity.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Kotovara has to be careful, but he is quite far back, Rob Olenek, right now, and you really have to be at the back of the car ahead of you to really make something happen into turn 1 in the Lotus 79.
He continues to gain through 130R. Down into the Casio triangle. You're right, he is way too far back for anything there. Both of them weaving it through the slow corner, gently applying the power back onto the front stretch. But Olenek is looking a lot stronger here. He's definitely going to get some slipstream down the front stretch. A little bit of a shorter run, though, as they come up to turn 1. Olenek looks like he is going to run out of racetrack yet again.
Yeah, the launch that Olenek got was a good one, just not good enough to really do something against Kotovara, because as you said, the front stretch are not the longest, and thus it doesn't really give an opportunity to a Lotus 79 if you're half a second or more back. You really want to be tucked right under that rear wing already coming onto the front stretch to really be able to threaten the car ahead of you for that overtake.
Into the Degners. Ooh, very wide there for Peterson. Looks like he manages to hold on to it. And Olenek not able to gain on him through the Degners 1 and 2. Out of the slow hairpin once more. It used to be Juan Costa that we were talking about in this battle, but you can see he's fallen back by a decent amount behind them. He is no longer a threat.
And Brian Molitor just spun it in a Degner to hit the wall on the inside.
And meanwhile, we got a pass on screen. This is Keela on Teolis. Or is this Teolis defending? He's a little bit wide heading into Spoon. Keela's to the inside. He's been working on this one to try and take 12th away. It doesn't work through there, but sets himself up well coming up the backstretch. It is a long uphill climb. There's no room to the inside there. You got to pick the other side. He finally goes the other way, but his momentum has been interrupted. That was an opportunity wasted.
Or
whoa, maybe not.
As he comes
deep on the brakes down into the Casio triangle. He's still side by side. This is a gutsy drive from the fin, and he gets it done.
This battle started into the hairpin, but here now comes Teolis, clearly having less downforce than Kayla, and goes to the inside through turn 1, takes back position 12.
Frustration from Marco. But it seems like from what we've seen, he's not going to give up on this one quite yet. As he follows him through the S's, I have to wonder, in modern F1 machinery, Steph, it's very tough to stay close behind. What about in these older cars? Is the wake pretty bad? Oh, as we got a mistake. Teola's a little wide there. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the good thing is with the Lotus 79, it doesn't generate a whole lot of downforce on top of the car. It's all from the bottom. As we know, it is that underfloor downforce that really generates the stuff for this car. So it isn't that much of a wake problem as Kayla once again tries to do it into the hairpin. Let's see if he does it this time. Teolis has the inside. Kayla way too wide there, but maybe with a good launch that he has in most speed, he makes the pass once again happen. But Teolis, remember, he has less downforce, so he might come back once again into 130. Already into Spoon? No, thinks better of it. A little bit of a slide there too for him. But no, as said, it's so much more about the underfloor than the wings on the car, so it's not too much of affecting, but it still hampers your speed through the turns.
Oh, and we had a pass for 6, but that is changing because Mikko Nurmi... Oh, and it's a big incident! Multiple cars going over. Looks like Nurmi involved in that one. Rob Olenek in there. Peterson Kotovara. It started with Nurmi, and I'm trying to figure out who this other car is.
That was Matti Sipila. He touched the rear end of Nurmi, spinning him around, and then Kotovara and Olenek coming to the case, or to the scene rather. And yeah, I have to say, that was all on Nurmi, not holding his brakes. And yeah, Kotovara tries to avoid Nurmi and runs into Olenek because of that.
Yeah, I think it was a perfect storm because Olenek and Cotavara were in a battle of their own. So they were side by side, and neither driver had much of a way to escape. So unfortunately, it just kind of was two battles coming together. Here we see from Olenek's perspective, sees the spin. Yep, they're both going for that inside line where they thought that maybe there'd be a gap, and it just disappeared at the last second.
Well, the good news for one driver in this race is for Marco Kela, because he now has two stricken cars right ahead of him. That would be for 10th and 9th place, which he's now going to overtake.
There's one going by. That's Nurmi. Oh, or is he? As they almost come together. He overtakes Nurmi. Next on his list is Olenek, who's back up to 8th temporarily. This could be short work, though.
Yeah, the real question is how much damage does Rob Olenek have? It's not so much about the front wing damage that he has, that you can see there. It's so much more about how much under-trade damage does he have. The less he has there, the better it is for his car, not only handling-wise, but speed-wise.
Meanwhile, we miss Norlampi managing to overtake Tommy Unhola. This happened in turn one when Unhola made a mistake going wide. We might have a replay of this. Let's see what we can find here. Unhola looks to have just out-braked himself a little bit. Watching from Norlampi, nowhere close enough for a pass, but you can see still weaving on the front stretch. Unhola focusing a little bit too much on his mirrors and not enough forward, it seems. Oh, and that looks like the grass may be on entry. Saw a little bit of it kicked up from that onboard view. Steph, this has been something of an attrition-filled race in the early laps. It kind of surprises me.
Oh, Costa! Speaking about attrition, Costa with a wreck out of Degner 2, his race done.
Wow.
And such a small error leading to such a big outcome too.
Absolutely. Just the smallest of wheels off. You'll see it right there. Oh, the car bounces a little. And he noses it in. He might have been able to continue on, but
I think
maybe
he
he
got
was stuck.
stuck there. Looks weird either way. But yeah, with that, now 11 cars are out of this race. We started with 26, we only have 15 remaining as we're watching the battle close between Fritcher and Bycroft.
Bycroft has been consistently gaining. Just lap 5 and lap 8 that he's lost a little bit. Speaking of gaining, Keela looks like he's about to pounce on Olenek. This is for 7th position.
There he comes.
A little bit better straight line speed with him, a little bit more pristine car. Olenek's going to try and fight it. I don't know if he's going to be able to take away this one, though. Yep, through the inside. Keela's got that one done. Up to 7th, having not put a qualifying time in. The Finn is on a hell of a climb.
You know, the thing that I'm most surprised about is that Tony Teal is not able to close the gap to neither Normie nor Olenek. Still sitting about nearly 2 seconds behind the stricken car of Mikonomi.
I wonder if Tony himself has a little bit of damage then, potentially. Or maybe just not really great at this car track combination. You could see right behind him, that is Kendrick Taylor. That is for position. That'll be for the top 10 if Kendrick can continue to run him down in his Williams. Speaking of which, curious how that team's championship is looking. It's even more difficult for us to do the math on that one, but Taylor in the Williams, so is Bycroft. Both of them are behind Frisha, but Gernot is contributing by himself as we... Wow, look at him weave. Gernot does not look like he feels safe right now.
And I tell you one thing, Juha Norlampi in 3rd place, right now 3.2 seconds behind the two guys battling for 1st place. He is faster than both of them. Last lap only a 10th, but he is starting to close that gap.
And now that he's gotten by Unhola, he's been freed up. So remember, he was our pole sitter. So on single lap pace, he is the fastest car today. But race pace, so far it seems to bear out that he is a little bit faster. But catching's one thing, Steph. Passing is a whole nother.
Yeah, and one guy who is starting to really show that also is Teolis. After a mistake by Nurmi, he now caught up to him, and now behind Nurmi there's a 3-car train forming, including Nurmi in 9th place. So 9th, 10th, and 11th all a nose to tail.
Just on our screen before we cut over to this, we saw Nora Lampe coming out of Degner 2, had a big slide and caught it. So he's clearly pushing. Meanwhile, this 3-way battle, as you mentioned, for 9th position, coming out of that same corner up towards the hairpin. Nobody close enough for a pass this time by. We are only on lap 10. We're not even halfway through this thing. In fact, we're almost halfway out of the field as it is. You can really see the damage there on the back of Nurmi's rear wing.
If it continues like this with the attrition, I think we need to start also taking the Formula 2 cars to the track. We have a big enough field.
Up towards 130R. Despite the damage, Nurmi looking to pull away a little bit in a straight line. Now it's finally coming back to him as Teolis gains. And then behind, here comes Taylor diving in, but backs out of it at the last second.
Rather interesting. Teolis thought about it, then backed out of it, and because of that, Kendrick Taylor, totally surprised, jumps himself on the brakes. If he would have realized the situation fast enough, he might have been able to jump on the opportunity and get that 10th place away from Tony Teolis.
He's going to get more opportunities, I think. Look at him gain as Nurmi being caught by Teolis in much of these hard braking zones. Now through the S's, tries to stick with the car ahead. Staying glued to that gearbox. Oh, but he's wide again. We saw that earlier in this race. Teolis struggling through the snaking section here at the start of the lap.
Yeah, Teol is most definitely having a less downforce than pretty much all the cars around him.
Let's stay with this, but there's a pretty clear delineation between two halves of the field. The top 5 are 14 seconds away from the next car down. And then you've got a bigger chunk of vehicles all clustered together. So seems to be a bit of a case of the haves and the have-nots out here. They come into Spoon Curve, still being led by Nurmi, who is riding in 9th. He himself behind Rob Olenek up ahead. He's been dropping off of him. It's nearly 5 seconds up to Rob, who also is dealing with damage from the same incident the two had together. Oh, and look at this. 2 tenths separating Bycroft and Freesia. What can the Williams driver do on the Renault? Out of the S's and into Dunlop Curve. Freesia stretching away a little bit more. Perhaps the wake proving a little bit too tough to deal with. That close behind. Sliding through Degner too. Steve Bycroft really pushing to try and give himself something. Great onto the brakes down to the hairpin. Smoking the inside tires slightly, but still very much on the chase. It's all happening ahead of Nora Lampe, who is still about 2.8, 2.7 seconds back. You'll see flashes of him on the screen as we watch from above. Now they hit the backstretch. What does Steve Bycroft have in a straight line? We've already seen Freesia weaving back and forth. We see it yet again, trying to break the toe, but to no avail. Here comes Steve. He's got a great run here. How brave is he on the brakes this time? Not brave enough, apparently. Steph, Last race of the season, but not the two drivers we expected to be duking it out. Still, this is turning into a really good one.
Yeah, no, as I said, it's not the two drivers we expected to be fighting for the championship, but they still are fighting for a championship, and we can't talk enough about that as Tony Giolis now maybe gets overtaken by Kendrick Taylor. No, he also slots back, so... but Giolis actually overtaking Normie, or is he? That was touching, once again touching.
Wow, banging wheels down into the Casio triangle, and Giolis not quite able to get it done. Nurmi has got his teeth gritted. He's unfortunately going to have to grit them very hard here because you can see the lack of straight line speed as Giolis looks around the outside coming into turn one. Maybe for the over-under. Loses a little bit, washes out through the second half of the turn. And once again, he is denied.
And Bycroft seemed to have made a little bit of a mistake as he's now over nearly 7/10 behind Fritcher. So while these three were battling, also the front separated a tiny little bit right now.
Yep, things have swung back towards this group for the action. Now down through the Degners. This is a more technical portion of the lap. Maybe this is a chance for Miko to start to pull away. The distance indeed up to 0.7 of a second now. As they come out of the hairpin. Giolis looking like his low-speed corners are a little bit difficult. Excuse me. I thought Bycroft blinked out on my timing screen. He just had a small connection problem. Thought he had a wreck. But no, don't worry, fans. He is still out there and chasing as this trio fighting for 9th place come up the back stretch. This is where we saw the attack last time from Tony Giolis. Once again, once the speeds get up to about 160 miles an hour, he gains. He's got a nose ahead. This time he's given a little bit more space. They almost come together, but coming around the outside into that first apex is not working.
Normie extremely aggressive with the space he is giving Giolis, just about enough to, live, so to speak. But yeah, it seems to work right now for Miko, and as long as they don't crash with each other, it is fair game, I would say. Now, there are two guys ahead of them who don't have anything to worry about, and that are Matti Sipila in 6th place and Adam Fraser in 5th. Both of them wondering if right now if they're in a time trial session or in a race.
They've kind of been on their lonesome. I mentioned that 6th place separated from 5th by 16 seconds. Keela as well, and 7th is about 6 seconds back from him. Frazier does have a little bit of hope in front of him. Onhola only 2.5 seconds up, but he's not anywhere within striking distance.
In striking distance, though, Steve Bycroft coming once again to exactly that. Now only 3/10 between himself and Gernot Fritsch for that lead as they cross the line to start lap 15 of this 23-lap race.
Bycroft making sure that he keeps a presence, that Frisha has to constantly glance in these mirrors. And we got to go back to Giolis because he's got a way better run than before. A much, much better run. He's already ahead. He's probably going to be defending this inside. And indeed, but they come together multiple times, banging into that right rear. He's got to hope that that suspension is okay. Somehow they both keep going. Nurmi is behind. He's going to get a little bit of a slipstream. Is he going to be able to try and take this back, though? Giolis had to take that one by force, and I think he's got it. And did we lose Tommy Onhola? He's grayed out on my screen, and he's not coming back. I think he had a problem.
Tommy Onhola did blink out. Let's hope he's coming back, because that would be a 4th place for him right now.
So Adam Frazier, a little bit happy about that one, I think. So he will be promoted up. Sipola going to find himself within the top 5 as well. Actually, no. Would that be Keela who gets promoted to the top 5? I'm seeing. No. Keela is in 6 now.
Oh, and Dunhola just came back, exiting the Casio Triangle. So we did not lose him, thankfully. He is back in 4th place.
Was that the Bermuda Triangle or the Casio Triangle? Because my goodness. Well, disregard everything I just said. Frazier's still 5th, Sipola in 6th, Keela in 7th.
And Kendrick Taylor might not be much longer in 11th place as he's gaining massively now on Nurmi. Overtakes him already into 130R and he is now 10th place. Or is he?
They come together hard, hit into the wall for Taylor on his lid. Nurmi manages to avoid the barrier and gets it going, but that will not sit well between the two drivers post-race. Taylor, why did Taylor slow up so much at the apex there? Almost suspect Nurmi's got a case to complain.
No, that's just Kendrick Taylor has to slow down that much because he's on a more inside line. So yeah, it's just Nurmi, not really. I would nearly say not really knowing how the Lotus 79 behaves on a turn like that.
Well, Teola's probably looking at his F3 box and wondering what happened, because he's now got the track pretty much to himself in that 9th position that he wanted so badly for so long. That leaves us with a lone battle out on track, and it is for first place. Gernot Frische, your leader since essentially the drop of the green, even though he wasn't on the pole position, took it away by the first corner. Bycroft, who put his car in 3rd, now running in 2nd, has been looking for something, but every time he gets close, Steph, it seems like it is just out of the reach of his fingertips.
Yeah, that is a little bit down to Suzuka and the Lotus 79. The straights are not really long enough to provide a good passing opportunity due to the draft, and the braking zones are not hard enough to make something happen on the brake. Now, the hardest braking zone we have is coming up right now out of Daytona 2 into the hairpin, but that is a bent braking zone, so not really also a braking zone to make a pass happen, because it's hard to make something too wide sustainable into the hairpin as they run up to Florian Kneidl, who also is a little bit of a story in himself. He did qualify in 22nd and he's already up to 14th because of all the incidents that happened ahead of him.
Florian seems to be just kind of cruising and doing his own thing, though. He's about 25 seconds behind the next car up, and indeed he lets them through. Just here to gain a little safety rating, as they like to say. Oh, this is looking good for Bycroft, though. This is the closest we've seen him. And indeed, a defensive move from Frische down to the inside of the Casio Triangle. I'm not sure that this will go off for Bycroft. It'll depend on the exit out of the chicane. But that exit looks a lot better for the number 1 machine. That will definitely give Gernot something to think about. With now only 6 laps to go. We get a little bit of sunlight. It's been pretty good conditions here today with the clouds over. 84-degree track temperature.
And so the thing is that I just came to realize that with Kendrick Taylor wrecking out of this race, this is now a gloves off fight between Bycroft and Frische for the team championship title.
Ooh. Well, that adds an extra impetus for Steve Bycroft. He's not just fighting for himself. He's fighting for his teammates. 7 points separating them. That could make a huge difference as they both break into the hairpin. Only half a second separating them, and it's been that way for much of this race. But desperation might start to take over because they're going to get 5 laps to go this next time by in a few moments, and Steve is running out of chances.
But I'm pretty sure that Steve knows what he has to do to get on top of this battle, because Steve Bycroft, we have seen it time after time into 130R down here this stretch. He is the faster car, but he really has to make it happen down into turn 1. He has to get close here like he does right now and then stay close to Gernot Fritzsche. But we know Gernot Fritzsche, one of the best cars out of slow turns like he does. Once again, look at how much he's driving away from Bycroft, and once again denying the chance of Bycroft to do something into turn 1.
I was going to say, with multiple championships under his belt, I think Fritzsche is no fool. He knows what he needs to do to hold Bycroft back, and thus far he's been doing it pretty successfully. Also worth noting, they've been pulling away from Noor Lampi. It's 3.5 seconds between them now. I'm not sure if that was traffic or if they've upped the pace, but I'm surprised after the way he was before that he's now fallen away.
Yeah, and on top of that, Steve Bycroft went purple the last lap around. That was, let's see, 47.326. Only about 0.3 slower than his qualifying attempt. So, yeah, Bycroft really good on low fuel.
That bodes well for him. So once again, we watch them head through the slow hairpin. Fritzsche pulling away on the exit. Half an eye on this, half an eye on the battle for 11th, because Mikko Nurmi has another car looking to try and overtake him after his damage. Multiple incidents of damage now for Mikko. Steve Sarles next on the list, looking for 11th. And that's going to be an easy one with a big bobble out of the Casio triangle.
Yeah, already passed before the start line here. Start and finish line are separated in Suzuka. Finish line way earlier than the start line. Oh, Steve Sarles saves that slide. Wow.
And just as that was happening, Bycroft got close to Fritzsche once again into the Casio triangle. He's looking really good off the corner this time. Is this going to be enough slipstream that maybe he could make the pass into turn 1? He is gaining as they cross the start line. Down towards the first corner. He looks to the inside. Only a half-hearted bit of coverage from Fritzsche, and still he manages to stay ahead.
There you can see how much trimmed out both of those cars are. The really Bycroft not gaining too much of a straight line speed advantage on Fritzsche with that draft. So yeah, Bycroft really seems like needing to be right under that rear wing to really make something happen into turn 1.
Bycroft was a little wide out of the S's. He dropped a lot of time through there. 4 laps left to go. One last chance to take a win. And the last chance for Steve Bycroft to win the championship, the team's championship for that Williams team. Now heading up towards Spoon Curve. Once again, Gernot stretching away ever so slightly. Here is where Steve is strongest. The exit of Spoon as the speed comes up. Cars on the throttle. Up to 150, 160 miles an hour. Nearly 170 now as they hit 130R. He's getting closer and closer, but not close enough.
Little bit of a slide though by Fritzsche. That is going to open maybe the chance to Bycroft. He takes a little bit too much of the second apex curb, thus really not getting the best launch and not close enough once again to do something into turn 1, but he just has to keep the pressure up now. Steve Bycroft knows the chance is coming. He just has to realize it and really put the pressure on.
Execution is everything. Steve is really going to have to be on point to try and make a pass stick. You could see how aggressively Gernot was defending down the front stretch all the way up to the pit wall here at Suzuka. Now down to 3 laps to go through the Dunlop curve and into the Degners. Bycroft once again falling away through the S's, struggling to hold on in the wake of the Renault ahead. You know, the downside for Steve in this, Steph, is that Gernot knows exactly what to expect. He has to be aware of where he's strong and where he's weak compared to Bycroft. So he knows here in this middle section that you know, he's unlikely to be attacked.
Little bit of a slide there by Gernot Friedrich. Nothing to worry though, because he is a multiple champion and has his car perfectly under control, but it has closed the gap ever so slightly to Bycroft. So yeah, best chance right now, get a good launch out of the Casio Triangle, and we might have a new leader of this race. Look at how close he is now. Into the Casio Triangle they go. Right, left, both of them very good on the throttle now. Oh, a little bit too good for Steve. Bycroft loses some vital meters now up to Gernot Friedrich, but that is pretty much the closest we've seen him so far down into turn 1.
Down to 2 to go. Bycroft pushing the limits of the track, taking clips of dirt here and there. Look how close he gets into 1 and 2. This is all still 3 seconds ahead of Nora Lampe. At this point, unless they start battling now side by side, it's unlikely we'll see the Finn run them down and challenge. However, if they come together, this could be Juha's win. We'll see how much they're willing to risk. Sippola, though, and coming out of the Casio Triangle, goosing a little bit too hard, and he loses the car. Nearly runs into, watch this from on board. You're going to see the nose get awful close to these tires. It's a little bit of a heart attack. He keeps going, but unfortunately, that brings Keela up to 6th now. What a climb from Marco.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been the first time we would have seen a car nose it into the tire barrier there. And it probably won't be the last one we would have seen, as Steve Bycroft once again only 5/10 behind Fritzsche, coming up to 130R.
Gernot looked a lot better exiting Spoon that time. You can see the gap back to Bycroft there on screen as well. Up to 7/10 and then falling down to about half a second. But the white flag getting ready to be shown to this multi-time champion. Question is, will he be the first to see the checkered flag as well? They come across the line. Bycroft was very good off of the final chicane, covering off the middle of the track. Friesche just making sure that he's at least a little bit safe from a potential attack, but Bycroft wasn't nearly close enough. They come to the S's. This is where Steve starts to fall away. Can he withstand the buffeting of the car up ahead? He's looking like he's holding on for now, but they start to speed up, get a little bit faster here, and then come into the Dunlop curve. Once again, coming off of there, back down to about 5/6 of a second behind Friesche. Through the Degners. Go ahead.
Sorry, just real quick. Mikko Nurmi is coming up to these guys, so he might play a little bit of a part into this battle, as Fritzsche now only 1 turn behind Nurmi.
Let's hope that he's got his eye on his F3 box scene. This is a battle for the lead. Friesche once again pushing Steve Bycroft back. It's 0.8 of a second. Steve is going to have to be phenomenal through Spoon to really make something happen. And on top of it, it looks like Nurmi's going to give a little bit of a slipstream to Friesche. Up the back stretch now. Gernot way too far away. This, unless he makes a big mistake, and unless his traffic gets in his way into the Casio Triangle, looks like a bit of a done deal. Nurmi pulls off to the side. Lets 1 through, lets 2 through. It's square braking for Gernot Friesche. No mistake there. Smoothly on the throttle. What a drive from our multi-time champion to win the final round of the season and take the team's championship on top of it.
Steve Bycroft trying everything, just not good enough for that first place. Johan Orlampi taking home the fastest lap of the race, 46.8, and third place ahead of Tommy, Mika Unhola, and Adam Fraser.
Remember Sipola having his spin. Well, he's still close to Keela. They come up the back stretch. But Marco, I don't think that he is going to be under attack. Way off course for Matty as well. He gains under braking. It's too little, too late, it seems, as they come out of that final chicane. So give a well-earned sixth place to Marco Keela, who did not put a qualifying time in and was gridded in 23rd. Incredibly, only 10 cars on the lead lap. There is 11. I think it might be 11 here. Timing and scoring is getting a little screwed up. So Steve Sarles will be the last one to cross the line. As we wait for them to come through, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. If you watch on screen, you can see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Suzuka International Raceway. We have just watched the final round of the season, and in the end, our champion managed to win, but it certainly was not for sure all the way pretty much to the finish line. Gernot Friesche not only taking the Drivers' Championship, but helping solidify his team's championship ahead of the driver that was fighting him for that team's championship, Steve Bycroft, 0.7 of a second at the line. In second place, Johan Orlampi finishes third, with Tommy Unhola taking fourth. Adam Fraser with a P5, just ahead of Marco Keela, who did not qualify, as I mentioned, starting 23rd on the grid and finishing in sixth. That is fantastic stuff from the Finn. Matty Sipola finishes P7. Rob Olenek, unfortunately not the cleanest race for him, but still coming away with an eighth. Teolis finishing ninth, and Yuri Wikström finishing in 10th.
Steve Sarles, the number 21, finishing in 11th from a 19th place. He's also the last driver to finish on the lead lap, a full minute and 41 seconds behind your winner, Gernot Friesche. Mikko Nurmi, the first car, one lap down after a few coming together. His car majorly suffered. Florian Kneidl, already the last car to finish the race here today in 13th, started 22nd, keeping his car clean and thus gaining a lot of safety and probably iRacing with the number 26. Ludovic Barriere, first car 2 laps down, and also the only car down there in 14th. Kendrick Taylor, 8 laps down, 15th. Juan Micosta, 16th. Petri Kotovara, after the big incident in the Kasi Triangle, he was not able to continue. 17 laps down, he finishes. Ryan Molitor, 18th place after big spin in the Degner curves, hitting the wall. His race was done. Barry West, after turn 1 coming together with over Tringerate, both of them finishing 19th and 20th respectively.
From here, we are into the DNF. Stevens, Bell, Simpkins, Fabricante, Van Doon all didn't really get much time. And in stark contrast to our winner, the rival for the championship, Matt Wood, unfortunately DNFs in last place today. So a disappointing way to close out the season for him, but not so for Gernot Frische, who is our winner, our champion, and helped clinch the team's championship by our calculations. Congratulations, Gernot.
Hi, Joe. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I wasn't sure about the team standings. I thought things would be really close, so this was an important finish in that one.
Certainly seemed like it. We were definitely aware of that as we were watching you and Steve fight. Were you aware that that battle with Steve would have implications in that as it was happening?
For the teams championships, definitely yes. Actually, I even thought that the race would still be a deciding factor for the overall championship, because there were a lot of really fast guys in that one. I thought the soft would be quite good, but actually in hindsight, it was not that high. So the driver standings, were pretty much decided before that race, but then the team championship was still open.
Now, we talk about you having multiple championships, but I don't have the stats directly with me. Do you know how many this is for you now at this point?
Hard to say. I think it should be on my profile, something like 15 or so. Gonna have a look if it's possible. Yeah, it's actually the 16th win in the championship, and CDC championships is even the 18th one. So yeah, I've been here for a long time, it seems.
Well, move over Schumacher, 16 championships. Gernot, that is phenomenal. You were impressive today withstanding that pressure. I'd say you've earned a well-earned 2-week break.
Yeah, thanks, guys. My break will be even a little bit longer. I'll miss the start of the next season. But yeah, it's been fun this time, and even a tough season because I had quite some hardware issues. So I'm very thankful to Steve Bycroft and some other guys, including Nicola, for example, to help me with that. Otherwise, it would be hard to finish that season. So yeah, much appreciated from my side. And a huge congrats to Steve and Matt for a great championship. And of course, also to my teammate, Keith Herner, who did really well as well.
Great words from our champion. Obviously, it shows the camaraderie of this series, helping one another out with our hardware. That was our winner, Gernot Frische. We next up have second place, Stefan, talking to Steve Bycroft.
Yes, Steve Bycroft, not only second place in this race, but also second place in the team championship. Now, first question for you there is, Steve, did you have that in mind that you were fighting here actually for the team's championship, or did you not know about that?
I thought we were already out of it after the drops and everything, so I wasn't thinking about it at all. I was trying to win the race. That was it.
Well, you were 7 points behind, and yeah, you needed that win for sure, especially with your teammate wrecking out in the race. Either way, fighting for the win, you did fight very bravely, but once again, there was nothing to do against the domination that is Gernot Frische.
Yeah, he just, he's the best we have. He's been the best, for a long time. But it seems some of us are getting a little closer to him, so I don't know. Maybe next season we'll have something for him. I don't know. He just got a new wheel, though, and he looks like he's finally got it working, so he's going to be even tougher next season.
Yeah, I just made a quick calculation, and in total, he has finished 2 times on the top 3 steps of the championship in the Lotus 79. So yeah, really dominating. But as you said, you guys are starting to really creep into the dominance of Gernot Friedrich, and I think toppling him next season might seem the biggest target for all of you.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good benchmark, for how good you are. I mean, you can measure yourself against him. And I mean, if you can, stay within a second most of the race, then you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, and coming up to next season, how are you looking forward to that championship and the schedule?
I think the schedule next season is going to be better than this one. We kind of had 3 not very popular races. Coda was in there. So it looks like the schedule is going to be better next season, and I'm hoping we'll have more guys return because it seems like we lose a lot of the European guys in the summer.
Well, Steve, as always, thanks for talking for us. Congrats on that second place in the team championship, and yeah, on a hopeful great next year for you, or season rather, for you.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot.
That was Steve Bycroft, your second place finisher in this race. But now, Joe Peak talking to Tommy Onhola.
Yep, 4th place for the Finn, just behind Juha Norlampi. But let's go to the very start of the race, where one of our championship contenders seemed a little bit unhappy with you, Tommy. Have you had a chance to talk to Matt Wood about the incident on lap 1?
No, not really. I actually just sent him a message to say I'm sorry, and it was completely my fault. Actually, I'm not sure what happened, as I was looking at Juha and he was a bit slow, and I was thinking that I'm going to collide with him, and I don't know, maybe I didn't look or something, or didn't expect much there, and yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, but I tried to avoid Juha, and it would not even have been contact, and took Matt out there. So I'm really sorry. Well, yeah, I'm not sure what else to say.
Yeah, it's never a good feeling where that stuff happens, obviously. But rest of the race, leaving that behind, you had Juha behind you for a long time. It looked like a number of cars had difficulty trying to get by. Is it really tough to try and get close with the wake of the car ahead?
Oh yeah, it's kind of hard to follow here. You notice it much more than on other tracks, and yeah, it's very hard to set up pass and do the pass here if a car in front doesn't do a mistake.
And of course, eventually you did have that mistake and Juha got by. But this 4th place, that's where you qualified. Are you satisfied with that in the end?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't think really I could have done anything with Juha. Maybe if it was hot weather, as I was a bit busy this week and none of the practice sessions were cold, so I just didn't do a cold setup, and this was a first cool session for me, and I took guess from qualifying what to do with tires, and it felt kind of horrible always. And I'm actually happy to just finish this, as car was not good at all. And yeah, 4th place is not bad for that.
Understandable. Yeah, we saw your comments about the hot set. Well, regardless, congratulations on the 4th for the final race of the season, and hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Oh yeah, thank you guys, and see you later.
That's Tommy Unhola, 4th place today. And the last of our interviews, because we are going to close up for the season ourselves and thank a few along the way. Big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for another season of coverage. We are already in talks and very close to having next season covered as well. Also, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Stefan, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. Head on over to our YouTube page when you get the opportunity. If you see a big red button that says subscribe, you haven't subscribed yet. Click that, and you won't miss a moment here for the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. The next race in 2 weeks' time will kick things off at Brands Hatch. That'll be September 15th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.